Hey there friends and enemies, Joby here again, and today I want to share my initial impressions after playing an absolute ton of the Marathon Alpha and enjoying my experience so far. I played both solo and with a group, and for most players I would highly recommend the latter. It does make completing faction contracts significantly easier as you can communicate freely, plus you can have the same kind of idea jumping into every game on what you want to accomplish, what items you're looking for, what materials each of you needs, all of that kind of good stuff. If you don't have a preset team, you can also turn on voice chat just for your team only. There's no proximity chat to hear other teams that are on the map, but I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing for the alpha, but I do hope it changes for the full launch. Now, some of the things that I did not enjoy personally, first off, is the heat gauge, which I feel like is a bit oppressive at this point. I understand eventually we will get various upgrades, cores, and different implants that will allow you to get an expanded heat gauge, allow you to do more before it kind of burns out. But I do feel like right now it can lead to a more tedious gameplay than you would want in a game of this nature. You don't want characters to just be meleeing freely, but I do feel like that being tied to the heat gauge is also a little strange. And at the very least, I do hope in the future we see this expanded a bit so that way you can run a little bit longer. And that leads me to the next criticism. Sometimes this map feels like there are, or at least the two maps that I played so far, have large open areas where you're running from one point to the next in order to get to your objective, and they don't feel densely packed with enough enemies and objectives to do. Now, I do understand, and this is going to be a positive of mine, that there are various events that pop up, like you have essentially what's like a Destiny public event where you have a bunch of enemies, a cash that you can grab in the middle that's going to grant you very good rewards, a high tier PvE enemy who will drop very good loot as well, and something like that. I completed one of those yesterday and it was a lot of fun. It was very intense, very difficult, but also very, very rewarding, and that's what I'd like to see more of going forward, especially because that's going to allow for some very interesting gameplay. If you're not careful, you can get third-partied while you're taking on this event and have a fight on multiple fronts. I do feel like that's where a game of this nature really shines, and so I hope more of that is included, especially as we get to the more advanced maps that are coming at full launch. Now, some other things I like personally, I do feel like the runners, the different character classes essentially that you have in the game, are fairly well balanced. I do think Glitch is the weakest overall, but I've been absolutely loving Blackbird. She's very valuable in this game, and the recon allows you to really understand what you're getting yourself into at any given time. Yeah, you can track enemies, but I don't feel like it's that oppressive, especially because it has such a long cooldown. You also have Void, who that invisibility can be absolutely lethal with certain teams sneaking up on you. But again, the TTK is such that I feel like you're mostly able to survive a little bit and reposition before getting completely overwhelmed by your team, especially if you're constantly aware of your surroundings. I feel like the people that I've seen who get frustrated by this are taking their time, looting, not really locked in for what could possibly happen nearby. When you are looting, you often want one person to be ready to engage the enemy team at any time because you can get snuck upon. But again, that's even easier if you are in a pre-made group. The gunplay, I think, is tremendous. It does feel very similar to past Bungie games, and I do think they deliver on that as per usual. I don't think the build crafting is all that exciting yet, but from what I've seen, once we get higher tier upgrades, it's going to be a significant improvement. And even now, you can really feel the difference when you do get your cores, implants, when you get your advanced shield, when you get the attachments to your weapons. All of that does make a difference. It's just sometimes not really as much of a difference as you might like. Another thing I do enjoy is they're doing an interesting thing with the storytelling. I know that's not something that a lot of people are going to be completely excited about, but I do feel like the situation they're doing with the factions and essentially giving you information after you complete contracts and also after you complete missions in the game, which will reward you with some more voice lines and things that push the narrative forward and kind of tell you exactly what's happening on the planet as we speak. I think it's a good way to do it, so that way if you don't care about it, you can skip the narrative, but also for those who want to understand more and really get involved in that, it is something that you can definitely pay attention to, and I think that's a good thing ultimately. The weapons themselves, I think, are pretty well balanced. I don't know about the sniper as much. I feel like it is pretty good, but also making sure you have the right amount of loot, the right kind of loot ammo. The right kind of ammo is very, very valuable, very important. You might want to run 2 weapons of the same so you can stack the same amount of ammo and not have to worry about it, but make sure you have enough ammo for each weapon. I personally found the LMG to be very good, especially once I got a couple attachments on it, and I was absolutely shredding enemies, so that's definitely one to check out. But I also used the handguns, I used SMGs, all of that kind of good stuff, and they all felt pretty good. I do have an upgraded shotgun. I've yet to use that much, but my first purple absolutely looks like it's going to be awesome, and that's really the exciting part about this, and the thing that extraction shooters bring that other games don't. The feeling of, okay, I've got to be protective of my gear because otherwise it is gone. I've spent my time in order to upgrade this, and now I want to make sure that I take it home with me. As far as some of the other things I like and don't like, I do feel like the bots range wildly from being very, very easy to very difficult if you're not paying attention. There were times where I was either healing or reloading, and that's when I would get swarmed and I would get absolutely annihilated by bots, and it felt frustrating because it was hard for me to get away from them at that particular time with them gunning me down. And so the reloads take a long time, the healing takes a long time. I think that's by design, especially when you can upgrade those stats in the future. And I do also feel like you're meant to, in the middle of combat, swap between weapons rather than just reloading consistently. So just some things to remember with this game as well. The interiors of the various locations in this game look incredibly good, very detailed. Once you get outside, it's a little bit less clear, which is a little bit annoying, but it is just an alpha, and I do feel like that will be improved over the course of time. The why is something that I'm still on the fence about. I enjoyed the gunplay, I enjoyed the gameplay with friends, I enjoyed finding new loot. I feel like the contract system and the upgrade system for the factions can use a little bit of work. I don't know if having multiple contracts would make it a bit better, but sometimes it feels like you do a contract after being in the map for a couple minutes and then you're really just left kind of looting but not really sure what else to do. While also when you're looting, most people will look at it and only want to snag the most expensive gear, whereas you should be targeting the upgrades for the various factions as soon as possible in order to maximize your vault space, your upgrades, the items that are being sold in the black market. So there's a lot there to figure out that I think a lot of players might not be aware of initially, and just something to keep in mind. I also feel like the overall gameplay loop is going to be more interesting once we have a full grasp, once we know enemy spawns, what type of events there are in this game, what type of loot we're specifically looking for long term. You get credits very easily, which I was surprised by, but there's certain items like the microprocessors which can be incredibly frustrating to try to hunt down when you need 12 of them to upgrade a specific node for your faction. So I do feel like that's something that hopefully we get a little bit more refinement with some of this stuff. And ultimately, as somebody who plays on console, I think this is the potential for the best possible console extraction shooter on the market, and that's saying something. There is, I believe, a player base for it here on console, on PlayStation and Xbox, that it might not find fully on PC, And I do feel like a lot of the complaints are mostly coming from PC players, unfortunately, because they have so many more options on the table when it comes to this genre, whereas it doesn't really exist all that much on console. And that's another thing to keep in mind if you are a console player and wondering why you are enjoying yourself so much more with this. Then maybe you are seeing a lot of negative backlash online. That very well could be the case, because as somebody who hasn't played these games a ton, who does enjoy Destiny PvP from time to time, this feels like a natural step forward that I am very much enjoying. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like the video as always, comment, subscribe. I'm probably going to do some guides and stuff in the near future as well, so let me know if there's anything specifically that you want me to hit on. Anyway, my name is Jopa, have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.